and welcome to another episode of Witchy Business. This week we are talking to Marta from My Illustrated Thoughts. We are talking all about the power of storytelling, all things creativity as a spiritual practice. We absolutely loved this chat, didn't we? It was so empowering, so inspiring.
Yeah, I absolutely loved it. The start of the episode is chaotic as usual. I mean, we try to make it, pro and seamless, and it's just not our style, is it? So
No, you just never know what's going to come out when you hit that record button, to be honest.
Might be jazz hands. So no, but it was a great chat. Just the different ways she uses storytelling and illustrating was really fascinating for me to listen to and to learn more about. So yeah, hope you enjoy.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Witchy Business. Today we are joined by the lovely Marta. Hi Marta, so excited to be recording with you today.
I'm excited too. Sorry. Oh, being very spontaneous.
I love it when there's like a slight delay. So I
was like, who's talking next?
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about you? Introduce yourself. Tell us about your business.
Now it's my turn, right? Now I can talk. Okay.
Yeah. And go.
Yeah. So my name is Marta Gepe. This is my pen name, but I love it. So that's what I usually use to introduce myself. And I run My Illustrated Thoughts, which is my brand. And what I do is two things. One, I help brands telling the stories with the character design. And I help them connect with the customers, the clients on a deeper level through character design and storytelling. And secondly, I help people get through life. When life gets you stuck and life gets you like, you don't know exactly what to do, through storytelling as well, but on a mentoring form. So these are the two things that I focus on, and I'm overall a storyteller. I love being a storyteller, and I think that's what I was born for. So I love that is my business and illustrator. So it's both. Yeah, and anything else, bits and bobs, juicy stuff. I'm Sagittarius, Moon Sagittarius, Cancer rising, so I'm very fiery, and I'm also a very Capricorn person. I have a lot of planets in Capricorn, so that makes sense that I would be running my own business at some point. Yes, I love the sun. That's why I moved out of London, and I am right now in my own journey of discovering my next stage in life. So that's a bit about me.
Amazing, thank you. And also a projector in human design. We just talked
Yes.
about that.
Exactly. Projector 1-4, which is apparently very much like leadership, which is something I discovered recently, which is cool.
Yeah, that's really cool. Can you tell us more about when you're working with clients in a mentor capacity and storytelling? Tell us more about how that works.
I feel like both sides of my business have a mentor capacity, because I work with brands and I work with the mentorship part, listening to what the values are, what their needs are, how they connect with others as well, how they want to connect more. And then that is what my mentorship background comes into place. So I don't detach one or the other. I feel like both are pretty much intertwined. And with private clients on a mentorship one-to-one basis, I work with them on creating the narrative that works for them in order to create a new paradigm of like a new scope of life, if that makes sense. So when we get stuck in the victim why is it, what is this happening? Why is this happening? And it's so bad and it's so wrong. And, like I'm suffering so much. And clearly we are suffering. Clearly we're going through a lot. But creating a new narrative of what is it in our power that can make us feel like we are the heroes of our own story. And we are the main characters leading the story that we want to tell. And every story has ups and downs, has challenges, because if not, it wouldn't be a hero story. Hercules had to, defend himself from 12 different challenges in order to become a hero, in order to become a semigod. And I think that's why we're put here, like to get through the challenges and become stronger and wiser. And that's what I'm giving support with as well, helping create the story through those mentoring techniques. Yeah.
I love that. I love the combination. It's and your illustrations are so amazing. We'll put all of the links in the show notes so
Thank
everyone
you.
can see
they're
them.
so fun.
Yeah, and I really love how, just to expand on that, you share your illustrations in your stories when you're working with other people, in maybe they're mentoring you or that's a course you've done. And I love seeing your notes that you take in story form, and it feels it's such a creative way of recording, what you want to record and how you want to take notes.
Yeah, I love that too. I think it's something that started since I was very little, and I think that was the way for me to highlight, or just like to create the story for me that could resonate and I could remember. So it's, I'm very visual, and I mean, obviously we can tell that I'm a very visual person. uh, but I think creating that sort of like humoristic little portraits, or stories about something that I'm learning, makes me feel like I connect with it. And then they're just like, oh, that's it. And then it helps other people. Like when I was teaching, I've been teaching for 9 years in my lab. Now I don't do anymore, but I would make that as a technique for the students on the whiteboard. So I would be lost in my own drawings, and then the kids would be like, yes, that's really cool. And I was just like going through complex concepts through those vignettes that I would create. And it's a very simple yet dynamic way to understand complex concepts. And I think it just resonated so much for me that I was like, I'm gonna keep doing this for myself.
When did you really start like using illustrations and that creative kind of drawing to either help others or I guess yourself first?
Oh, that's a good question. I think I've done it all my life. Like I remember, like that's something that's come very natural to me since I was little. Like I remember I would do things like all my dreams on, who I want to be, and then I would just like get lost in creating stories, and that would be more of an sort of like meditative way for me to, dream dream out loud. And I think it came back when I was in London and I was going through a very difficult time of my life. I was 25 and I had a pneumonia and I was feeling really lonely. I was in a relationship that wasn't doing me very well. Like it was quite harmful. And I think for me it was a way of escaping from the pain, just like not escaping, but just to channeling the pain I was going through into tuning into creativity. And that's when my own character that I named Mini Me was born. It was the part of myself that was stronger than I thought I could be myself. And then she would be going through the same, ebbs and flows and emotions, but in a way that I could detach from it, or I could see it from a wider perspective. And ever since, it's been part of me, and it's evolved with me as well, which is funny. I was a very innocent sort of character that, was part more of a like fairy tale, or just like a children's picture book, and then it just had a very sarcastic sense of humor, and then it just evolved into like a very stylish and adult version, but still sarcastic. It's still humor, uses a lot of sense of humor, but it's the higher self. So I think for me, it was kind of channeling the higher self, and I just realized about that now. But it started at a point where I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, and I think that helped me with understanding everything I was going through, and it just lifted me up in many ways, and I just kept going with her. Yeah.
It's such a different way to think about like your growth and your healing journey through storytelling, and you it's like drawing it as well. It's just, yeah, it's so different to what we do. I absolutely love it. And yeah, like we said, I find like your illustrations that you share online so fun to follow.
Oh, I'm so happy. That makes me so happy. I'm like, oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, I think as a spiritual practice or a creative practice, the power in creativity, and we've spoken about this before, us three together, but also on the podcast before as well, about how creativity is a form of self-discovery and can be used for healing. And so that's exactly what you're saying. It's like you're telling these stories, you're allowing yourself to express yourself and get it all out of here. Kind of, I'm touching my head for those of you who can't see me. I'm putting it down on paper and telling this story. And yeah, it's really an incredible tool, and it's incredible for us to watch and hear as well about your story.
Thank you so much. I mean, it means a lot. It's something that I would dream about it when I was, 25, 26. And then I remember I was sitting with my sister. I have a younger sister. She's a doctor. So I was kind of jealous of her because she chose a very well defined path. And I was, in the midst of a life crisis. I don't know if you guys have had it, but when I was 25, I had a massive midlife crisis, like quarter of life crisis. Like, I don't know, I don't want to be a teacher. And then it just like everything I've done so far doesn't count. And then my sister was with me at time, and she was like, I don't know, maybe you become a writer, maybe you become a writer, and then that's what you do. And I remember thinking, no, that's not gonna happen. I'm not a writer. I'm never gonna be that. And I had so little faith in that. It was a dream, but I didn't see myself capable of doing it, and ending up having this as my business practice and healing practice, and channeling all that. It's one thing I'm very grateful for. And I lost track a little bit of what I was saying, but I think the point was exactly
yeah
exactly, just like everything comes together, and it's beautiful to have it.
Yeah, for someone who wants to get started or use the power of storytelling for their own healing journey and personal growth, how would they get started? What would you recommend?
I think it depends. on the way people take it, because I would say, oh, start doodling, but then people are not really drawn to doodling things, you know. I think that whatever comes natural, that's the way. And I think whatever comes natural in a form of creative, without setting barriers of, I'm not good at this, I'm not good at that, you know. Some people are drawn to journaling a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say keep doing that without setting the self limitations of, well, this is you know, this is not good, why would I do this? Because we get lost in making it perfect, or publishing it, or putting it out there, and then that stops us from enhancing that creativity, that creative ability, which doesn't need to be you need to be a Monet, or, you know, J.K. Rowling. That's not the point. The point is being in touch with yourself, you know, and that it doesn't have any limitations. And I would start with that then. Whatever you're drawn to, either drawing or writing or journaling, whatever the practice is, even dancing, I mean, anything it is, don't set yourself any limits or, you know, expectation on how things should be, because then that's when we start you know, shrinking and belittling ourselves, and I think that would be the main point, I would say.
Yeah, that's great advice. Did you experience that when you have there been times where you've experienced the fear of trying to make it perfect versus just expressing yourself?
Oh yeah, I mean, that's been my journey.
Tell
In
us
a
more about
way.
that.
Good. Okay. Well, let's sit down and talk about it. You have 2 hours. um, I think that was me when I started my journey. I think when going back to that moment when I was 25 and I didn't know what to do and I was feeling very confused, and I thought I wanted to be a teacher, but actually something struck me when I was that ill with pneumonia, and I was like, I want to be an illustrator, and I want to, you know, I want to draw, and I want to, you know, I don't want to become a teacher. And that moment I felt I need to get it done perfectly well, and I was learning, but there was an expectation of, is it done yet? Am I ready yet? And I remember my dad, who's been very supportive in the beginning, he would say, maybe you need to draw more, you know, maybe keep drawing, keep doing. And there was the already, is it already? And then it would make me feel very anxious for the result. Like, why, you know, no one is really seeing my drawings? Why no one is really, like, you know, connecting with it? When is it gonna happen that I'm gonna publish something? And that wasn't the point. And when I realized that it's okay, whatever comes out is gonna come out, and if it doesn't, it's not meant to happen at that point, it will come out later, then it's when the ideas start to flow really, really in a very abundant way. Because before it would be like just like, you know, few drawings and then that's it, and then we just like retract and then come back. And then losing that fear of, oh, whatever I'm gonna say, I'm just gonna say it. Then that's it. That it was just like snap, you know. And I think that was when I hit, when we were in quarantine, and then I started to publish every day. And I didn't really care what the expectations were. I just wrote, and I didn't even want to draw or do anything. I was like, I just want to write, and this is it. And then it became like a whole new world to me of creativity when I just let it happen, you know, let it go. And that was amazing. But it was quite like 5 years of my life figuring myself out on, well, maybe, I should take a master's degree. Oh, no, well, but actually, I'm just going to put all my life into drawings. But actually, I want to be like this one. I want to be like this illustrator. And I want to be like that illustrator. And finding my own voice was the process, really. But I wasn't really aware of it until I got out of it.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
My
I
pleasure.
love what you said about you just shared every day. You just got in the habit of sharing every day. And I think there's so much power in that kind of repetition and consistency in order to just allow you to forget what you're worried about, or forget, the very reason why you might be scared to share in the first place. When do you think, after, like, I don't know if you can remember the moment or the time after you'd been sharing for a while, you suddenly was just like, oh, this is fine now, I can just keep, like, allow myself to share?
Do you mean when I was writing every day and just sharing it, or?
Yeah, and also, like, with your illustrations as well, when you share those, do you feel like there was a point where you just stopped kind of worrying about the outcome? Because I'm thinking that can apply to so many things in business and at work, whether that is writing, whether that is illustration, whether that's doing a presentation, whatever that is. I'm kind of interested in that process and that journey for you.
Yeah. I think with illustrations I shared since the very beginning, only that the mindset was what I wasn't having in my head. As I would share, and then it would be like, it needs to be perfect, even if I'm not, or I wouldn't think, just for the sake of sharing it, but just like, I need to have an outcome because I want this so badly. I really need to know if this is the right way. And then I think it was a complex process of self-validation and finding validation within myself. And I think that was the key part, because I needed external validation before, because I was so insecure of what I was doing. I didn't go to art school. I didn't go to any fine arts. I just felt like doing it. And I was very insecure of calling myself an illustrator, because I didn't think I would be that kind of person, or that kind of, all these barriers that the conditioning of society, like, you need to have a degree in order to be X or Y, and I was like, I'm a translator and I'm a teacher, and I have all these titles, and I didn't think I was that until few years ago, when I put myself out there and I just like enrolled in a children's book illustration summer course, and then I was like, oh, actually this is fine, I'm doing it. And there were people who were actually illustrators, like professional illustrators, and we were going for a week, and then that like big people were tutoring us, and we were in Cambridge, and it was quite like a big deal. And then I was like, it's not bad. Like, I can come up with a good idea and then finish it. And then some people didn't finish it. I was like, well, I'm on the same league, and I can draw, and I'm fast, and like, I just need to refine it, but you're okay, and I did that, like, pushing myself to that challenge in order to see myself being up for it and just like working towards it. And I think that's when I stopped belittling myself into, oh no, I just didn't go to this, so I'm just not gonna share as much or be as open And then that's when I kind of opened up to, oh, whatever comes. And with writing, I think I needed the skill first. I write in English, and I don't write in Spanish that much. And I went to London. I mean, I was living already in London, but I did a master's degree in London on international communication. And I was like, well, if I can write a dissertation of 12,000 words or plus on something really academic, and I'm having a good grade about it, that means I can be good at writing English. And then it's just like, oh, I'm just gonna, write in my own safe space, which is my blog, and then just like keep sharing and keep sharing. But it was a process. I think there was, the moment of, because then there's like a bigger challenge that makes you think, no, I'm not that good. And then you just retract. So I think that was maybe those were the two pivotal moments of my life where I found I could just be what I always dreamt to be.
Where you became the hero of your own story.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very much.
I really, really relate to that because I used to be a project manager, and then it was around the age of like 25, 26. Same, I thought, I don't know what I'm doing with my life. Who am I? What's my direction? And I became a graphic designer. And that's something that I'd always kind of practiced myself, and also came within my role as a project manager, a kind of creative project manager. But I'd never been taught. I'd never been, I'd never studied it. And I felt this huge fear and imposter syndrome and self-doubt around that, because from where I was, there were people my age now being like an older, new to this skill, to this career. There were people who had been studying this, who went to university to study this, and who had been doing this for so many years. And I really struggled with that, with lack of confidence. Yeah.
Same.
Yeah. I think it's, from when you said, have you guys had that at the age of 25, and both of us were nodding our heads. And I think that is something that's really common at whatever age, when you've been following, a career path for a long period of time, and just being able to change direction and kind of experiment and follow what lights you up is so important, and it's so brave as well. And I guess to bring it back to storytelling and healing, and that is really, that's how powerful that kind of expression can be, and that exploration. And from everything you're saying, it's, it's like it's been there for you every step of the way, so that you can be the hero in your own journey.
Yeah, they were the tools I needed to have. It was like the sword and, the shield that I needed to, navigate life, what life was throwing at me every single step of the way, as you're saying. And it's very common as well. Like I think we feel lost every 5 years. I turned 30 and I was like, oh, Saturn return. I didn't know about that. Oh, hey, new thing, What do you want to do? Oh, yeah, I'm just going freelance and I'm just gonna create my own business. This is actually what I was meant to do. And it was like the Pokemon, like the evolution of it, like kind of how you create like a new chapter of the book with the new tools that you're acquiring, which is fascinating. And I think when we put it into storytelling, or just like making it a story for ourselves, then we realize this is a great book that I'm living, this is a great novel that I'm creating with so many different chapters that are absolute magic sometimes, that like I got to live all these things. And pursuing those experiences and those moments that, you know, you can tell others as a story, and then people are like, oh wow, that happened to you. And I love that. I mean, I love listen, what happened to me the other day was so, and I just chase anecdotes. And I think for me, the part of, like, we all have that ability, really. It's just that we need to be aware of it, you know, in order to appreciate the story of our lives in that sense.
Yeah, I absolutely love this, because I mean, Emily and I often speak about books, and we both love to read, and having this idea that our life is just, you know, a story that we write chapter by chapter. I find that like a really beautiful and quite like romantic way of viewing life, and just yeah, I just find that yeah, really beautiful. And what you just said, like, we all have this storytelling ability. It's true. Like the most ancient way of sharing knowledge was through storytelling, and just like vocalizing and sharing knowledge that way. And I find it such a, yeah, beautiful, kind of almost like a tradition to keep going with that, to use storytelling as a way to heal.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, what can I say? Loving this. I'm loving this conversation so much.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
me too.
I'm just like really curious and quite fascinated. Like Emma and I often talk, like, our backgrounds in PR and marketing, which is all about storytelling and connecting brands to audiences. Like, that's not how people view it, but at the core, that's what, you know, we do quite a lot. You know, remember, there's like a marketing brief, and we're like, what's the story around it? How do you engage the audience with all of that? And I'd love to hear a little bit more about like what your process is working with brands specifically to write. Like, is it their story, or do you create like a persona that tells their story to connect with their audience? Or just, I don't want to like place the too precise questions, because I don't know, and I'm just really curious.
I love that. So I love creating characters. That's one of the things that I have been fascinated about all my life. Like, I've been an animation fan. I love Disney, but because of the animation part of it, mainly, like, I'm fascinated by it. And putting both together, working with the brand as, who are you? You know, what do you have to say? And what are your values? Who's your brand? You know, like in marketing and PR, we need to know as well, what is your story, and what values do you stand for, and what code of ethics do you follow, and what who would you be, you know, who's your ideal client as well. There's a lot of this, and I found that working with the brand that it's a fashion brand, and I've been collaborating for almost 2 years with them, and they wanted to have a character, and then going deeper on the story of their customers, like, who are they, what do they do, how do they gather, all these marketing questions that we have to ask when we're doing branding anyways. Like, what's the process I'm putting into a visual narrative, and the way to create a connection that doesn't that feels in a way neutral to the brand, because it's not one person, or, you know, the creator of the brand. It's the brand as an entity, really. That is what helps keeping the story as a line that people follow. So people are curious about, so who's this character, and what do they do in life? Who are their friends? What do they do together? What are their practices? And then working with the marketing campaign to help people understand that this brand connects with you because they see you. And I think that I'm not explaining exactly the process, but I think that was like what made me feel like this is what I bring to the table to brands that can help differentiate themselves exactly as they want to differentiate themselves, because we have social media and we have reels and we have all these different tools that everybody follows, and we have influencers, and it's kind of all the same, really, like if you boil it down to a basic level. But having your own character that is completely tailored to your personality is like having your stamp of authenticity in the market. And I put that within a framework, which is the Jung 12 archetypes in marketing and branding that, you know, they're used a lot. And I was obsessed in my master's degree with marketing. That's why I know a lot about it. Because I took some modules of it and I loved it so much. And creating these archetypes, they can also be characters that you can actually draw. And I put my style into it. So obviously I work with brands that are aligned with my style of drawing. But it also, I guess it's like a service to service. I serve you with, you know, my style, and then you like bring me all the vibes of the brand that you are, you know. And this is putting everything together and then kind of sculpting more or less within the framework that character that is unique and no one else can replicate it. And then from there, creating a world of fantasy, which is like what excites me the most. It's like, I'm just going to put this and I'm going to put that and just going to put this little detail, and it's going to repeat itself every single illustration along the way. It's like Taylor Swift songs that people just like poking into all the references, like, oh, this is a world that, you know, no one really knows. And I love that. And then that creates a lot of retention because people are curious about it. I was like, I want to know more, you know. And yeah, I think that was something I'm fascinated about. I just love it.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that with us and sharing that process. And yeah, it sounds like such a fun way to do all those marketing and PR exercises that we're more used to doing, of like, how do we engage and what's our voice, and, you know, what's the personification of the brand. You're actually creating a character out of it. So yeah, love it. Absolutely love
Thank
it.
you.
And I mean, following on from that question, I feel like the natural next step is, what's your process when you're working like one-to-one with a person, and using storytelling in a way to on their healing and growth journey as a mentor?
It goes differently. Obviously, I can't create a character out of a person. But I feel like creating characters that resonate with the challenges or, you know, the rewards that people are going through helps a lot. So one of the things that I worked with is creating a drama queen, for example, and then it's taking all the, you know, parts, the shadow. It's taking all the shadow and the parts that we just don't really, we feel so fearful of seeing, and we don't want to go there, and then detaching from that part of ourselves and seeing that through a character that helps to understand way better. Well, I would say better and clearer what's the part that we are actually dealing with, you know, because when we're fine and things are going well, we don't need a character. We're totally fine living that ourselves. Like, we're fine. We're enjoying it. When things get through a when we get in a sort of loop of things don't seem to be going as I want, or as they should be, or as I expect them to be, that's where the story changes. And I think for me, it's a more intuitive process. So I focus on listening and seeing where the person is going through the motions, and picking up on that and saying, okay, well, we're just going to stop here, and then what happens with that, and then just keep on listening. And then the technique, when something goes deep down to the root, like, this is pain, that's when characters come into place. That's when the story and creating it and writing about it and saying, okay, what's the chapter that you can write about, and sometimes I've found that they don't need it as much, or they may be like a restructuring of their own, like something more practical, like I want to go from A to B, and it's like, okay, so what would your ideal self would do, like, can you write it down, but when it gets sticky, I find that that's the technique I go through. But I feel like with mentoring, it's a very personal space, and the technique or the process changes depending on the person. So I can't really say I do X, Y, Z, and it's, repeats along the way, but because every person is different and they show different ways of expressing their challenges. So I guess the main, the main story is that it's like when things get sticky, that's when we bring the chapter out and say, how can we write this differently, and then see what happens after.
Yeah, I love it. Like this, I see it as like using the storytelling sometimes when the challenge is too close to the person, and you can separate the two a bit so they can look at it as if it was a separate entity or separate person or separate character in your case. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I had experiences with clients, they would laugh at it. They would be like, oh, so ridiculous. I'm like, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Let's stick to that.
Yeah, it's so different the way that I work with clients, whether it be in marketing or in coaching and helping people. It's so interesting.
Oh, I'm so glad. I think that's the beauty of creativity. Like, we all have our own signature to do things, and no one can really do the other. Like, it's like, oh, that's the way. And then that's beauty, the beauty of allowing creativity into our practice, that I can't do what you guys do, but in the same way I do things in a way that my own creativity tells me to. So I think that's as a note, we're in a world that wants to copy or not replicate, it's like, I want to be like that, so I'm going to do exactly the same, I'm going to follow the same things. And it's like, well, no, because you're missing yourself. And this is the beauty of it, the beauty of allowing your own light and your own spark to really shine through, not replicating what people you admire or that you want to follow are doing. It's taking those lessons into your own spark and making your own way. And I love working that way with everyone. I mean, I'm in every single circle that I've been, and I think this is the kind of like the revolution I want to be in, like, be you.
Yes, we are so here for that.
Yeah, I'm just, if you were to draw me right now, I'd have like little hearts in my eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because it's like us three here right now, and anyone who's listening really could be doing a similar thing, right? We can be helping similar clients or the same clients, but we all have our individual spark. What you're saying is like, you know, we all have our creativity, our individuality, and that is what makes us unique. And so, yeah, I love it. It kind of ties into when we did that episode on the witch wound and how healing it is to have these kind of conversations and work with and collaborate and, you know, with other women, because it really, I just find it so empowering and so inspiring. So thank you so much for sharing with us today.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I mean, happy to share with you guys.
Oh, this was such a great chat. Before we leave and finish the chat, can you please let us know where people can find you, and if there's anything that you specifically want to share that you haven't yet, this is your time. If you're, you know, anything. Yeah.
Ooh, on the spot now. So my website is My Illustrated Thoughts, and my Instagram is the same, My Illustrated Thoughts. And right now, what I'm offering is brands. If you know you have something you want to say, if you have want to differentiate yourself as a brand, then I am offering special service right now for character design, and I'm loving this. I'm loving every part of it. So if you feel drawn to it as a brand who's listening, then just contact me through either My Illustrated Thoughts on Instagram or through my website, and happy to have a chat. And as a mentor, same website. And mainly if you're going through a moment in your life that you're not very sure, you just like need that help to reframe things in a different way, then happy to have a chat as well. And right now this is what I'm focusing on. And yes, it's been an amazing pleasure to just chat with you too. I loved every single bit of it. It's been so expansive.
No, it's been so fun. Thank you. We'll pop everything in the show notes, the link to your website and to your Insta page. And
Thank you.
yeah, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.